Hey guys, it's Mr. K, and welcome back to another video. Let me ask you, have you ever seen those bold, puffy letters on graffiti or posters and ever wondered, how do they do that? Well, today, that's exactly what we're gonna learn. How to make bubble letters, whether you're sketching by hand or drawing digitally. But before we get into it, I want to show you the STEAM connections that are involved with something like creating bubble letters. Bubble letters may look playful, but they use math, geometry, and artistic design. You're working with shapes, spacing, symmetry, and contrast. You're turning basic letter forms into eye-catching dimensional art. Bubble letters aren't just for fun. They use logos, signs, murals, and digital art. Learning how to create them strengthens your spatial awareness and gives you the tools to express your ideas boldly. It's a confidence booster for young artists and designers. Now let's walk through how to draw bubble letters by hand, step by step. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do when we're doing our bubble letters, what I like to do is I write my word since you're first starting out and you're a beginner, what you wanna do is write your word lightly in pencil with plain capital letters. It's gonna get to a point where you won't have to do this, but so let's say the word we were gonna draw was STEAM. I would start this would be, start with a capital S, T, E, A, and then do the M. Now, around each letter, what you want to do is draw an outline. Make the shapes rounded and exaggerated. So what that means is you're going to go here, I'm going to round it off, and when you get to corners like this, you exaggerate them a little bit. So you want to pretend like the letters are there, even when they're not. Just go around them slowly, and then you'll start to see the letters appear, and they will start to take form. So you can see that it's starting to take form and it has some similarities to the letters. Now what you're going to do is erase inside the lines so only the bubble letters remain. So now what you want to do is add details like highlights or shadows to make it pop. You can give it a 3D effect by taking and picking one side of each shape and adding little indents like this to create depth. This is just emulating lights and shadows from one direction. So in this case, the light is coming from this side, the left side. So you can continue to add more details to this to make it pop, but the next thing you want to do is trace it with a marker or color it in. But now that we have this step, what I like to do is now that we have the base of our names, we can take it into an app like Procreate to then add more flair to it.
I have to shift it because I don't think I can do
Okay, I can leave at 7. I don't have no problem, my friend.
No, if you came in at 9, you can leave at 6 today.
Okay.
But when you come back.
So the first thing you want to do when you open up Procreate, you're going to import your image into your workspace. I'm going to go to the Actions panel, and then I'm going to hit Add and Insert a Photo. After I press Insert a Photo, I'm going to select the image and size it accordingly. You can use 2 fingers to scale and make your design bigger or smaller depending on your preference. For this, I'll just make sure it is right in the middle. Next, I'm going to hit the deselect button, well, the pointer tool again, to deselect everything. Now that it's placed where I want it, I'm going to go over to the colors and select black, head over to my brushes, and select something that is a monoline brush with not too much detail. So I'm going to go with Studio Pen. Now that I have Studio Pen selected, the next thing you want to do before you start adding to your design and going on top of your photo is create, this is a very important step. You're going to want to go to the layers panel and hit the plus sign to create a new layer. This ensures that whenever you're working on your design, it will not affect your photo and you can save it appropriately. So now that I created this new layer, I'm going to go into my photo and make sure that I'm still selected on this layer and begin outlining, making sure, let's first make sure the opacity of my brush is at 100% and the size is at a medium range. Now that that's okay, I'm going to start adding to my design. Now, if it gets to a point where your artwork and what you're doing on top of it is harder to see, what you're going to want to do is go to your photo layer, which is layer 1 in this case, and you're going to hit the select N. This will bring up the opacity for the specific layer. You're going to bring it down to a good 70%. 60 to 70%. Let's go with 65%. Now that it's at 65%, when I look at the design, I'm able to see not only what I'm doing on top of it, but also what's underneath, giving me a better flow and workflow. So I'll continue to trace. When tracing your design, it's good to stay along the lines, but they're more of a guideline. The more fluidity you have in your designs, the better it shows for the overall piece in the end. I'm going to finish the M right here. And boom. So I want to make sure that when you're making outlines for your designs, you want to make sure that the designs are closed in. That way when you're adding color, they don't spread to anywhere that they're not wanted. So now that this outline looks pretty good, I'm going to go over to my layers panel and deselect my photo layer. Now you can see that the words are ready to go to be colored. So I'm going to start by dragging in some colors. I'm going to start with a green here, just drag and drop. And notice, actually before I start, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a new layer and go back to my layer 2 and make this layer a reference layer. That means any layer that I add further in the future will associate and base its form off of this layer 2. So if I was going to add color into the S, what it would do is have a new layer, I drag it over, and now this S is not only in its its own separate layer, but it still takes the form of the outline that I had in the beginning. So if this is beneficial, because if I want to add details to solely the S, now I have it in a dedicated layer to do so. Then I can now add a clipping mask to that said. Now I can make this an alpha lock, take the clipping mask off, and add a clipping mask to this S. So if I wanted to add more darker tones or add more shading, I would simply get a lighter version of this green, go to, let's say, the airbrushing effects, and add a little bit more detail. Now, because of this design, I'm going to have to make the size of the brush a little smaller. and go a little bit faint. So now that is just the S. Moving on to other letters, I'm just going to simply add another layer and then repeat the same process. So T, E, A, M. So having it just like this, you can tell a difference between the depth of the designs. The ones that do not have shading look more flat, but when you start to add shading, it allows it to pop out of the screen. This is good if you're going for a more realistic effect, but if you're going for a cartoon look, then it's good to just keep it as is. This is how it would look actually if I didn't add any depth or shading, but we're going to add depth or shading just because we can. So I'm going to go here and just add a new layer on top of each of the letters. And then those layers will become clipping masks. Making sure that the actual letters themselves are alpha locked. What that means is the background of the layer is just transparent. So anything that happens in that layer is only affecting what you see, in this case, the letter. So I'll go here. And if you want to select a color directly, what you're going to do is hold down on the color and then you'll see in the eyedropper tool pop up. Once it pops up, now you know that you're at the correct shade. I'm going to go and scale, bring this down a little bit to a darker blue, so then I can then begin adding some details. Do the same thing for the A. Go here, bring a little down, scale it, and starts to make more of a difference for the depth. Now go over to the E, bring it down a little bit, and the more depth you add, the better. So now the final letter, the T, go here, bring a darker color, and we already start to notice a difference. Now, if we wanted to leave it like that, we can also go to this right here and go to background color and change it to something like this. So it's an off-white. Or let's change it to a gray. Now, you know how to make bubble letters from simple sketches, then taking that sketch into Procreate to then create something new. And you have words like this. You can continue to add to it by adding more layers, or you can leave it like this to begin printing. But the direction of your artwork is all up to you. Hope this helps in your understanding of bubble letters and also STEAM principles and creativity. Your challenge: create a bubble letter design of your own, of your name or your favorite word. Add a background, colors, and a pattern that represents your personality. You could take it up a level by turning it into a sticker, a poster, or even a t-shirt design, even a wallpaper for your phone. So in conclusion, bubble letters are more than just decoration. They're a form of expression. They teach you to take up space creatively and add style to everyday writing. So grab your pencil, tablet, or markers and make your words pop. See you in the next one.